Hey everyone, SweetJohnnyCage here. Welcome to the November 2022 channel update. This video is being published on November 24th, 2022 for channel members, so you get this video a week early. And then for everyone else, this will unfortunately go live December 1st. So I guess we can make it the 30th, so it's still in November. But yeah, so this has been a busy month. There's no exaggeration about that. Busy both in terms of YouTube, but also just life in general. Working as far as work goes, everything's great. It's just this is kind of like the rush to the end of the year. So it's like just trying to get some things out, get some things done. But at the same time, it's a lot. But it's all good. I do have a break coming up, so I'm looking forward to that. Today is technically Thanksgiving, but I actually have a break in December, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But to recap what I've done this past month, did all the guides or all the walkthrough pieces for Ocarina of Time and Ocarina of Time Master Quest. I spoke about this last month and even the month before, but had a lot of trouble with my GameCube. Ended up getting a new one, or new, it's actually used, but ended up getting a different one off eBay, and then hilariously, it started to break about halfway through the Master Quest walkthrough. It got to the point where I was having to power the system on with the disk door open and then get to the main menu, close the disk door, and load the disk from the menu. Sometimes that wouldn't even work. It would just start up with a random error saying, like, consult the manual with no error code or anything. So it got a little sketchy at the end to the point where I was debating just leaving the thing on. But I didn't want to burn out the laser more than it clearly already had been. But we got through all 21 parts for both Ocarina of Time and Ocarina of Time Master Quest were recorded, edited, put up. So those games are done. Both those GameCubes are in storage now. They're in a bin in my closet. I got to figure out a way to recycle the first one that is completely broken, that literally cannot be repaired. Got to figure out how to consciously get rid of that. And then I might end up doing a mod on the second one to like get one of those SD card loader things in there. We'll see how that works. I don't know. But it was suggested to me by a friend, so figured, why not? So that's done. That was a project that I was really looking forward to doing. And I mentioned this on Twitter, but unfortunately, because of the issues I was having with the GameCubes, plural, it kind of killed my enthusiasm. Not quickly, but it was like every time there was a problem, it was like, oh, can I please just get through this thing before this thing dies? It just became a little stressful. And for a 20-year-old game, I mean, technically even older than that, but as far as the Master Quest version goes, a 20-year-old game, it's just like, this shouldn't be this hard. And I really didn't want to have to resort to emulating or anything like that. And I definitely didn't want to start the game over on a different console and like go through that. So I was glad to just get it done. And that kind of brings me into, I've gotten a couple questions while doing that walkthrough series for both games of, am I going to cover other Zelda games? Because I covered A Link to the Past, I think last year. I did a bunch of guides for that, and those still get views. That's really the reason that I went through Ocarina of Time and Master Quest, was because for some reason those A Link to the Past guides still get a lot of views. Folks have asked, like, am I going to cover Majora's Mask? Am I going to cover Wind Waker or Twilight Princess? And the answer to most of those is maybe. Majora's Mask is something that I think I could do and do well. I do know the game pretty well. I think I could route a 100% walkthrough in a good way. It's an interesting game for those who haven't played. There's only 4 dungeons in the game. It primarily relies on side quests. So there's a ton of masks to collect. With 4 dungeons, that's 7 hearts. So that means that 13 hearts. 13 times 4, that's 24, 28 heart pieces in the game, I think. And so there's just like a lot to do. No, sorry, 52 heart pieces in the game. Yeah. It's just a lot. Like, there's just a lot to do in that game. It's a really good game. I like it a lot. But if I were to do it, I think I would use the Switch version. I think the Switch version of Majora's Mask is fine. I think it looks really good. That's kind of the reason I didn't use the Switch version of Ocarina of Time, is because I don't think it looks good. It looks muddy and weird in a lot of places. Also, there were just bugs when it first came out, in terms of like fog not loading correctly and the Shadow Link room or the Dark Link room looking bad, straight up bad. But Majora's Mask seems to be fine as far as I've played like 3/4 of the game just casually, and it looked fine. Wind Waker and Twilight Princess would be heavy maybes. Wind Waker more likely if it were to come to Switch. I would not play the GameCube version again. I do own it, but clearly I've been having GameCube issues. And I definitely wouldn't go out and buy a Wii U for the HD version. I would wait for the HD version to come to Switch if it ever does. So that's the answer to that. Twilight Princess, I don't like. It's like my least favorite Zelda game. Maybe I would cover it if it came to Switch, maybe. But that would sort of be like really bending the rule of I don't cover games that I don't enjoy. Like, it would be easier because I've played it a few times and like I kind of know it, but at the same time, I just don't think I want to. So yeah, that's the answer to that. And Tears of the Kingdom next year, I will certainly cover. I mean, I loved Breath of the Wild, and I kind of wish I had this channel during Breath of the Wild because it would have been a lot of fun, or at least had been working on this channel during Breath of the Wild. But yes, that's the Zelda question. But that also brings me to the next thing that I may want to cover on this channel, and that is the Callisto Protocol. So Callisto Protocol is really interesting. The game itself looks unbelievably good. Graphically, it looks really cool, and the gameplay looks really interesting. It's a survival horror game, really in the vein of Dead Space. I didn't play Dead Space. I don't typically play horror games because I don't love being scared, but I've kind of exposed myself to it with the Resident Evil series over the past few years. You know, playing 1, 2, and 3, the originals with like an HD pack, playing the remakes, and then playing 7 and 8. So maybe. We'll see. Although Callisto Protocol looks a lot more seriously scary than Resident Evil does. So we'll see. That's a maybe. The definite next game that I'm covering, though, is Crisis Core Reunion. And I want to spend a few minutes talking about this. So I played Crisis Core when it first came out. I think it was 2007 or 2008. I played it on PSP. It's one of my favorite games of all time. It is the first game that I had like an emotional attachment to, where I was playing the end of the game on a plane from California to New York. And so I had like 5.5 hours to burn. And so I finished this game, and by the end of the game, I was actually crying on the plane because like the ending is just so emotional. And it was the first time that I really got attached to a game like that. Like, you know how it's going to end from playing Final Fantasy VII. Like, you know the conclusion it has to reach. It's not a good one, but the way they fleshed that out and made it mean something was really, really well done. And so I'm kind of looking forward to that again with Crisis Core Reunion, but having covered 7 Remake and Intergrade in a lot of fashions with guides and walkthroughs, but also appearing on a couple podcasts and like, you know, that friends have, and like just talking about the game, like I really do love these games. And so Crisis Core is a game that I wish had gotten at least a port at some point. It has been quite literally stuck on PSP since it came out in 2007 or 2008. And what I mean by that is it was never available digitally. You had to purchase the UMD, and it was because it was never available digitally meant you couldn't even play it on Vita. And you also could not play it on PS3. There was no way to play this game on a console other than the PSP. So it has quite literally been in PSP prison for 14, 15 years. Like it's done its time in jail. It's time for it to be released on a modern console. And yeah, so I'm excited for it. What I'm really excited for, being honest, is to see how they bake it into Final Fantasy VII Remake. They did say that it's not a remake, it's a remaster, but it's more than a remaster because they're changing certain gameplay elements and it's fully voiced now, new voice cast. But, you know, I have a feeling that at the very least, the ending will be different, or maybe we'll get like a bonus cutscene that ties it into Remake. Who knows? But really excited for that. I'll 100% be covering it with guides and walkthroughs. But the other thing that I'm doing, and this has already started, is I have been sort of co-hosting a podcast with a friend of mine who goes by the username Uchi, UCHI. He has a few channels. One's dedicated to anime, another one to gaming. Then he does something for Power Rangers. Then he does something more Dragon Ball focused. Like, he does a lot of coverage on YouTube for a lot of different things. And he is someone that I've known since the days of Video Game Central. He was in our comments. That's how we first met. You know, I'm from New York. He's from New Jersey. Like, we sort of bonded pretty quickly. We've met in person a bunch of times, and we talk all the time. He's very serious. Like, when I say he's a very close friend, he's a very close friend, not just like an internet person that I interact with. But he is someone who has never finished the original Final Fantasy VII. He has never played Crisis Core. He has played 7 Remake. He has played Intergrade. But yeah, he doesn't have like the wealth of knowledge of Final Fantasy VII that I have and a lot of other folks have that have been following the game since 97. So he has like a really unique perspective on this, and it's fun to kind of like ask him questions and see what he thinks is happening. And so what we're doing is we're hosting a podcast called Recast, a Final Fantasy VII Remake podcast. And it's like a limited run series. So we're only doing 4 or 5 episodes. We're definitely doing 4, and then we're going to do like maybe like a spoiler cast after we both play Crisis Core Reunion, sometime either late, near after Christmas or early next year. But yeah, so we're going through the story of Crisis Core. We're recapping it, talking about how certain pieces might be more fleshed out in Reunion, or how things may tie into 7 Remake, little Easter eggs that you may have missed, stuff like that. It's a really fun time to talk about this game again. And that is being hosted on his channel. I will leave a link to episode 1 in the description below. It is already live, and by the time this video goes live for the general public, episode 2 will also be public. So episode 2 goes live on Friday, the 26th of November. So yeah, by the time this goes live to everybody, first 2 episodes will be up, and we will likely have recorded episode 3. And then episode 4 will come out a few days before Crisis Core Reunion releases. So we are very excited for that. Yeah, check it out. I'll leave the links in the description below. In terms of coverage for Crisis Core Reunion, this is going to be a bit of a mad dash. And what I mean by that is Crisis Core Reunion comes out the 13th of December. I am going back to New York for the holidays starting December 21st. So I more or less have 8 days to blast through this game with coverage. Elden Ring took me, I think, a month and a half to cover. That was an open world game. The first time I played it was like 150 something hours. Like, it was a long playthrough. One boss took me 2.5 days. I don't think it's going to be that bad, but it is a JRPG, and with a fully voiced game, it can take a while. Like, those cutscenes can take a while, and there's a lot of talking in Crisis Core. There's a lot of story to tell. So I'm hoping that I can finish the game itself within like 3 or 4 days, doing coverage, as I go, and then hopefully have enough time to do a full playthrough walkthrough. Likely what will happen is with that full playthrough walkthrough, I will skip cutscenes and just kind of bring you through the combat and the puzzles and that sort of stuff, and show the item locations. That's kind of the way I'm thinking about it. I think that's how I'm going to be able to get it done in 8 days, but we'll see. So the reason that I would have to stop on the 21st is because I do not want to bring a PlayStation 5 back to New York. I don't want to bring a computer back to New York. Like, I want to just go spend the holidays with my friends and family and kind of take some time off. Yeah, so that's kind of the reason there. So I'll be gone from the 21st of December through the new year. So I have off work starting on the 18th. So I'll have a couple days, or really the 17th. I'll have a couple days of like just clean slate. All I'm doing is Reunion. That's it. And then I'll kind of disappear for about a week and a half. I'm coming back to LA before New Year's, but then I'm going to hang out with some friends in Arizona for New Year's. So Phoenix. So I really won't have time to like do any more coverage after the 20th really. But that's kind of the idea. So I'll keep you all updated. as that progresses and as we get closer. I've applied for a review code. Hopefully I can get it a couple days early, get a head start, and hopefully work isn't too crazy around that time. This way I can really just kind of come home and deal with and like play the game and get the coverage out. That's really what I'm trying to do. But that's it. That's the update for November. I assume next month's update is going to be pretty low key. Likely discuss the coverage of Crisis Core that I'm going through at the time, and then wish you all a happy holiday and a happy new year. But that's it. Okay, so this video is going live on Thanksgiving, so if you're celebrating in the United States, I wish you a happy Thanksgiving. And if not, then enjoy whatever holiday you are celebrating in the next 40-ish days. As always, I want to give a thank you to my channel members, and actually have it up this time. I want to thank John Aldrich with 30 months, Hector J. Estrada with 18 months, Joe Saunders with 18 months, Daniel Cockerill with 13 months, Spencer Young with 11 months, Phoenix Loader with 9 months, Jude Lazowski with 8 months, The Old One with 8 months, Brian Brubaker with 8 months, Stu J. Mac 26 with 7 months, Baghdad Money with 4 months, and Greg with 2 months. Thank you all so much for supporting. All right. Yeah, that's it. So, again, I wish you guys a happy holidays, and I will see you next time, and I will definitely see you in Crisis Core, if not the Callisto Protocol. Have a good one.